Okay, so what is a related text and how do you pick one? So many of you probably have an assessment coming up soon that asks you to choose a related text or a text that's related to the set text that you're doing. So what will happen is you'll be in class doing a particular text and you'll need to get a text that relates to the set text that you're doing. And there's a couple of key things to keep in mind when you're picking a related text. So when you're picking it for something like the Common Module, it can be like there's a very broad set of kind of rubric terms that you could be talking about. And this could be true of other years as well, where they give you sort of like a syllabus guideline. They tell you what sort of ideas they want you to be talking about. So when we come to text and human experiences, we're looking at, you know, the paradoxes, the inconsistencies in human motivations and behavior, the igniting of new ideas, like all those terms. They're quite broad though, and they have been written quite broadly because certain parts of them will be slightly more relevant to different actual set text that you have. But when you look at the set text can be like pretty different from each other, right? So for example, you know, if you're looking at George Orwell's 1984, that one's going to be sort of based on Orwell satirizing or creating this dystopian vision of what the world would look like if we succumb to totalitarian regimes. So if we, through our fear of, you know, and desire to need protection, we sort of give up too much of our autonomy and our personal liberties to, you know, like, you know, political leaderships, you know, that then become sort of totalitarian. So he's reflecting the fears from things like Nazi Germany, Stalin, etc. So that's like very specific in terms of the political motivations and ideas that are going on there. Then you've got other things like, well, the Crucible's quite political as well. So that's sort of a critique on the McCarthy era. But then you've got other things, I mean, a lot of them are quite political, but they'll be on different issues. You know, so then you've got other texts like The Merchant of Venice. It's still quite political, but, you know, it's obviously a tragedy comedy, and you've got like themes of prejudice that are a lot more paramount and looking at sort of gender inequalities, which aren't necessarily there to the same degree in like some of the other texts. So that's where when you pick a related text, you want to sort of pick something that not only relates to the rubric terms, but also aligns with some of the key ideas and themes from the specific text that you're actually doing. So, you know, if you've got those sort of more political, like power, authority-based warning texts, then that's sort of the direction you want to go with your related text. Whereas if you've got something that's a bit more sort of like prejudice, gender-based, you know, and there's so many other things in the other texts, but understanding the text that you're actually doing and seeing what the key ideas are and what the composer's purpose is, that's such an important one, you know, then helps you align with what sort of related text you're going to pick. So a couple of things just in terms of picking a good related text: don't pick anything too short. Like, for example, some people want to do things like song lyrics. Teachers don't normally like those kind of texts. They're a little bit short and can be not as sophisticated. Basically, they want sort of like the meatier, you know, more literary sorts of text. So it doesn't have to be a novel or as big as that, but, you know, something like a, you know, like a renowned short story or like a dramatic monologue. Or, you know, potentially like a play or a film or something. So something that's just, you know, really kind of delves into certain ideas in a bit more depth, and then gives you a bit more to talk about, particularly on the technique front, because obviously, you know, if you pick a text that's a bit more basic, you're not going to have very good techniques to actually break down and then show your understanding of. So like if you were doing a film, say you've got like so many visuals that you could be using, and then you've obviously got mise-en-scene, music, you know, blocking, costuming, lighting, angles, all those things. So, you know, pick something that is going to have like a good quality, like it's going to be like a good, have a good literary quality. Teachers also really love Australian texts. So if you can pick something that is Australian, maybe something that, you know, explores the ideas that you've done in the set text from, you know, maybe like an Indigenous perspective, like that's often a really good idea as well. But the key thing really is, I mean, you may have suggestions that have been given by the teacher, but if there is something else you want to do, just check with the teacher, because teachers probably will, they usually do give you some guidance in terms of what sorts of text they're looking for, which can vary from school to school. So, you know, just have a look at a few, like take the initiative. Don't just go to the teacher and go, I don't know what to pick. Okay, so do some of the work. So go have a look into, like, look at your theme, have a look into the kinds of text that could work for that, whether it be, the ones suggested in class or ones that are similar, and then go to the teacher and just check the one that you picked so that it's at the level of sophistication that the teachers are actually looking for. Because if you just pick one and run off and do all this work on it, and then the teacher's not keen either, then you don't get the marks that you want in the end. Or if you then check with the teacher, but you've already done all this work, it's kind of a waste because, like, you've done all this work on it. So better to usually have that discussion with them sooner rather than later, and then they can give you some guidance in terms of whether that's a good one or if they're sort of looking for something else.